I want to give a special shout out to my patrons, to my Bibliosprend, Bibliosworn, and Bibliomancers. Thank you so much for supporting my hobby and passion even more. It means a lot to me. Hi everyone, Petrik here. So for today's video, this will be something new on my channel. I've been thinking of doing a science fiction and fantasy spotlight of the month video. So basically, this will be me focusing on compiling some of the most interesting special edition announcements, cover reveals, and also books or series release date or announcements that I've spotted in the science fiction and fantasy genre within a particular month. If they're time sensitive, I will post them first on my community tab. And of course, this series of videos will cover both traditionally published and also sub-published fantasy books. And for the purpose of this video, because I'm still experimenting here, I'm going to share some news that I think is interesting from the last few days of April and also from the first week of May. So the first one is the Blade Itself Curious King edition, The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. I have known about Curious King for more than a year now, and I've always known that this edition would be coming. And even then, I'm still surprised to see how good this looks. So this will be something similar to Subterranean Press edition, and this edition will be Curious King's first published project. And in my opinion, it looks absolutely amazing. This looks like this will truly be the definitive edition of the Blade itself. And it's not only the Blade itself. Curious Kings has confirmed that they will be releasing their edition for the Blade itself before they are hanged, and also the Last Argument of Kings. So yeah, the First Law trilogy. And if all things goes according to plan, they will also release their edition for the standalone trilogy, Sharp Ends, and also the Age of Magnus trilogy. And I really hope that will come true. On top of the Broken Binding reprint edition, I've always wanted an illustrated edition, a special illustrated edition for the First Law world by Joe Abercrombie, because in my opinion, the entirety of the First Law world is the best series of grimdark fantasy novels that I've read to this day. And it is so fortunate that Curious Kings has confirmed that they will be releasing their editions. So for Curious King edition of the Blade itself, and I assume the rest of the trilogy, they will come in 3 editions. The first one is the standard edition, which will be priced at £200 on pre-order, and it's limited to 500 copies. This book will be 480 pages long, and this will be the only edition that features a cover art illustrated by Tommy Arnold. This cover art, once again, will be exclusive to the standard edition, and this one will be signed by the artist only. So Joe Abercrombie won't be signing this edition. But the numbered and lettered edition will feature different cover arts and design at different prices, and both the numbered and lettered edition will be signed by Joe Abercrombie and Tommy Arnold. Numbered edition will be priced at £550 on pre-order, and this one is limited to 150 copies. While the lettered edition, which is by far the most expensive one, will be priced at £2,500 on pre-order, and this one is super limited. It's limited to 26 copies. Personally speaking, from the pictures that I've seen, I think my favorite one will have to be the standard edition, because I'm a huge fan of Tommy Arnold's work, and I think what he did for this cover art for this dust jacket, it looks absolutely incredible. The Bloody Nine and Pharaoh margin in the cover art looks just how I imagined them. And also all 3 editions, whether they're standard, lettered edition, or numbered edition, all 3 of them will come. All 3 editions will contain an illustrated end paper by Tommy Arnold, 7 tipped-in color plates, and 1 is a frontispiece by, I think, Tommy Arnold as well. And finally, a fold-out map, fully colored map by Jack from Tall Shepherd Press. The pre-order date is currently scheduled for the 16th of May, so that's 1 week from now at 8 PM BST. I will leave the link to the blog post, which contains all the details, in the description, so make sure to check it out and mark your calendar if you're a fan of the First Law series. In the quote of the book, once you've got a book to buy, it's better to buy it than live with the fear of missing it. Then the next piece of news is The Final Strife by Sarah El Arifi. Goldsboro Books recently announced that their pick for their July GSFF will be The Final Strife, and this edition looks stunning. It will be signed and numbered with exclusive foiling, and also I think this is the first edition by Goldsboro that features a slipcase. Yeah, I don't think they've done anything with a slipcase before, so this will be the first one. But unfortunately, their GSFF subscription is currently full, so yeah. And the last piece of news before I move on to the sub-published stuff is Red Rising Saga by Pierce Brown. So recently, a few days ago, Pierce Brown just posted something on his Instagram page, and it looks like this is a scene from the Golden Sun, yeah. But I have never seen anyone share this piece of artwork before, so this could lead to a few things. And Pierce Brown mentioned in the post that, well, there will be announcements coming soon. Announcements. So there may be 2 or more announcements coming in July. For those of you who love Red Rising Saga, what do you think this will be? Personally, I think this will be the release date for the 6th book in the Red Rising Saga, and maybe the Golden Sun Illustrated Edition. Or who knows, maybe a TV series announcement? We'll see. And now we move on to the news in the self-published and indie stuff. The first one will be the title reveal for the 2nd book in the Illborn saga by Daniel T. Jackson. So I think a lot of you know already that I loved Illborn. The first book in the Illborn saga is titled Illborn as well. I loved it so much. I've read and reviewed this book in January, and now Daniel T. Jackson has revealed the title for the 2nd book in the series. It will be called I Duel Sin. And this is what Daniel has to say regarding the title reveal. I finished draft 1 of I Duel Sin at the end of last December. Since then, I have been working hard on rewriting and editing, and generally on improving the book. I have now completed 85 until 90% of the editing process and intend to complete the rest of that work during May. I have also sent the first 2/3 of the edited book out to my beta readers, and I am delighted with the positive reactions so far. After I have finished edits and rewrites, I want to spend a few weeks doing the final polishing edit of the whole book, and my target is to have the manuscript completely finished before the UK school summer holidays in July. But if I decide before then that it needs more time and work, that it's what it will get. Again, I will leave the link to the Instagram post in the description. But personally, I am very excited about this. And the next news is the War Eternal series hardback edition by Rob J. Hayes. Rob recently announced a hardback edition for his War Eternal series, a 5-book series, and it comes with a brand new cover art and design by Felix Ortiz and also Shawn T. They look absolutely incredible and epic. I love the white background on the cover art, and this edition is available to purchase now. Rob has also announced that the same treatment will be applied to book 4 and book 5 of the series someday, but not anytime soon, I think. Although I am a huge fan of his Mortal Techniques series, I haven't actually read War Eternal series. I did try it a long time ago, but I couldn't click with the first book. Hopefully that's just because I was in the wrong mood back then. I will definitely give this a try again someday. And next, Rachel Aaron has recently announced her new book, and this is called The Last Stand of Mary Goodcrow, the first book in the Crystal Calamity series. This is slated to be released on the 1st of June, and for those of you who don't know Rachel Aaron, she's the author behind Heartstrikers, Eli Monpress, and also DFZ. I've read only Heartstrikers by her, and I really enjoyed it. I think that was such a great urban fantasy series. And Rachel Aaron herself has said that The Last Stand of Mary Goodcrow is a story that I've been wanting to tell for a long time. We're talking crazy magic, giant battles, haunted guns, messed up family situations, sky-high stakes, and of course a giant cast of fun, hot-matched characters all set against the epic backdrop of the Great Sioux War, which ends very differently than the real one. Don't worry, Custer still dies. I realize historical western feels like a pretty big jump from urban fantasy, but this is a Rachel Aaron book through and through. If you like my other series, I heartily encourage you to give this one a try. I promise you won't be disappointed. So before I get to The Last Stand of Mary Goodcrow, I think I have to read DFZ verse. No, they are not related, but I really want to read DFZ because DFZ is a continuation to Heartstrikers series. The cover art to The Last Stand of Mary Goodcrow is done by Luissa Preissler, and it looks excellent. And speaking of cover art, the next piece of news is the cover reveal to The Sons of Darkness by Gourav Mohanty, which was revealed on Fantasy Book Critic. This cover art is done by Micaela Alcaino, and this is the author's debut work. This is supposedly a dark fantasy story that combines Indian mythology, the legends of Mahabharata, in a violent and realistic world. The author said in terms of inspiration, I think everyone writes, unconsciously or not, from the sources they loved. And this book ended up being my creative smorgasbord of Malazan, Song of Achilles, First Law, and A Song of Ice and Fire. I'm not saying Sons of Darkness will necessarily read like those books, but geopolitical dramas mixed with brutally cruel choices is something I love about all those works, and I really hope that's reflected in the writing. The release date for The Sons of Darkness is the 3rd of June 2022, and I am kinda looking forward to reading this one. I don't know when I will get to it yet, but yeah, I will definitely place this on my radar because all those series that the author mentioned are series that I love. We have 2 more news left, and the next one is again revealed on Fantasy Book Critic, and this is for Umbral Storm by Alec Hutson. This is the first book in the Shattered View series. The Umbral Storm is the author's first progressive fantasy book, and this will be released on May 20th, 2022. So yeah, very soon. This has the cover art done by Mansik Yang or Yum, which has done a lot of gorgeous cover art for progressive fantasy books like Iron Prince or Bastion. I am a fan of The Raveling by Alec Hutson, so I obviously will be looking forward to reading reading this one. And this is what Alec Hutson has to say regarding the premise of the book. The central conceit of the world is that a great artifact was shattered, and it was found that when its fragments were embedded in flesh, great strength and powers were granted. The more shards a warrior carries, the more powerful they become. Martial orders arose around the largest pieces of this artifact, each of which has a particular aspect, like storms and blood and stone, and they contest between each other to gather the shards and dominate the world. That's the surface level understanding of what's happening, but there are more layers and mysteries to be discovered. And while not as good as either book, I want to say it's a bit like Cradle by Will White crossed with Game of Thrones. That's the story I wanted to write anyway. And finally, the last news that I want to share here is by Ben Galley. So Ben Galley is writing a new book. It is called Somebody Has to Be the Dark Lord, and I think this one looks incredibly interesting. And from his newsletter, this is what he has to say. Because I'm a glutton for punishment and this idea was driving me mad, I'm writing another book and releasing a chapter a week online. This new serial novel is called Somebody Has to Be the Dark Lord. And the only way I've managed to describe it so far is Wolf of Wall Street meets Joker meets Arcane, set in a poison and highly religious fantasy world dominated by a planet-sized beetle. It features a female protagonist called Dwellindor, a badass who thinks the world should bend to her. She's smart, she's ruthless, and she's determined to get what she wants. There have been too many stories of heroes and chosen ones. It's time I told one about a villain. It's also a book within a book, pointing fun at fantasy tropes and magic schools and love triangles every chance I get. So that's the end of today's video. That's some of the spotlights that I think is interesting that I spotted in the science fiction and fantasy genre within the last few days of April and also the first week of May. Obviously there are more news that I haven't covered yet, but do let me know your thoughts on each piece of news that I just shared here, and please give me input on whether I should make this a series of videos on this channel or not. Right now I'm thinking of doing this maybe once every 2 weeks or maybe once every month, but we'll see how it goes. So yeah, as always, thank you so much for watching and thank you for your support. Bye bye.